Thank you everyone for coming to another Reltio community show on the topic of unraveling the merge. So introducing auto unmerge for accurate data records. We have our pro Suchin Chodankar. He's a principal product manager here at Reltio. He's been here several times and really excited about this one, a new feature that we want to show everyone and how to use it and get a demo and everything else. So before we get started, please keep yourself on mute. Please ask the questions in the chat, and feel free to take yourself off mute and ask those. Chat's a little easier for us. We'll probably ask most of the questions at the end so that we can get through the show because we have a lot to demo. So as usual, these will be, and it's being recorded as of now, and I will make sure to push that to the community and send everybody an email to let them know that it's there. So I don't know why it looks like this, but hey, I didn't do a good job of making this look good. But we have a lot of shows coming up. And today's show is Unraveling the Merge with Auto Unmerge. And then additionally, we have some training courses that we pushed out on the upcoming events, so you can see those as well. But from a show standpoint, on the 6th, which is next week, we have Fast Track to MDM, Excellence Leveraging the Reltio Way for reduced timelines. And then on the 14th, we have Enhanced Security, reduces costs of the power of Reltio and Private Link. So if you use AWS, then this is going to be extremely interesting to you. And then on the 21st, reducing the user experience with Reltio's Intelligent Assistant. So it's RIA. So right now, it's a way that you can, look up documentation and just chat with it, kind of like a Chat GPT-like. But we call it RIA, R-I-A. And then on the 28th, which we did this last year, we have some more stuff around the UI and stuff like that, a lot of interest there. So we're going to do it again and talk a little bit more about what's coming from a efficient, empowered, engaged, and leveraging Reltio's UI for data steward success. And then on the 19th, which we have more coming, but on the 19th, we have Deloitte talking about advancing patient health, the role of holistic patient data management and consent. So I said a lot of words, but we have a lot of really good stuff coming up on the Reltio community. So Suchin, I'm going to hand this over to you and let's get started.
Sure.
So thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Chris. All right, I'm going to go and share my screen. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Suchin Chodankar. I'm a principal product manager at Reltio. I'm responsible for match, merge area, and some of the other product areas that I manage here. Today, we're going to talk about automated unmerge. Before we get into demos and trying few scenarios out, I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of background on why we started on this journey and what was the problem that we are trying to solve, right? So as you know that as a record basically go through updates and changes, and new record comes in. Sometimes you onboard the sources, and your rules could change, or basically the data could change, right? The rules could remain same. So what happens is basically as you go through the match and merge process, and if the underlying data that was merged previously no longer agree with the match rules, then the expectation is basically they should automatically unmerge, right? So that is not what happens with most of the MDM platform that you have seen, right? So the expectation then is basically for data stewards to go look for those records and unmerge manually, which takes a lot of time, right? And even before we start with the unmerge process, how would you even know, what is that you need to fix, right? So this is a very interesting and a very complex problem that many of our customers were facing, right? So how do we basically first find those records which are eligible for unmerge, either surface them for data stewards to kind of look at them and see if they agree with the unmerge and they should go and unmerge them, or let the automated unmerge functionality basically do that heavy lifting for you. So that's what we are going to talk about today, right? So that's the problem. We thought about a couple of different options here when we thought about the solution. The first obvious option was, before we even unmerge something, you need to you need to find out what is that you need to unmerge, right? So the detection part becomes like very, very crucial here. So the way we thought about detection here is you have bunch of automatic unmerge, automatic match rules that you use to basically merge the records. So the first approach that we took here, and which is what I'm going to demonstrate in today's session, is if if the consolidated record do not meet any of the automatic match rule criteria, then that should be basically a record that is eligible for unmerge. So that's the approach that we have taken. And when we rolled this out first in 2023.3, which was last year, we got a lot of feedback saying that, hey, you just cannot use automatic unmerge because there are a lot of other scenarios that we want to basically consider before we decide to unmerge this record, right? Because data could be just changing temporarily. It is going to go back to what it was. So we don't want to see a lot of unmerge and merging and unmerge and merge, right? So that creates a lot of friction in the system. So we heard and we listened to those feedback. And in last release, we have made significant improvement to this functionality, which gives you better control. You can decide when to unmerge, or you can decide when systems should unmerge automatically. So that's what we're going to talk. So the obvious benefit here is like, this will basically reduce or even completely eliminate the need of manually unmerging records, which takes like, hundreds of hours of data stewards, which they can spend on doing, some other important tasks, right? So this session is going to be like, a lot of trying the scenarios and whatnot. So I don't want to kind of use a lot of slides here, but we will be kind of, jumping back and forth into the slide because there are a lot of information that I want to share with you guys, how to configure this one, how to control the behavior and things like that. So before we get into the demo, I want to show, the system that we have set up here for this demonstration so that we can relate with the scenarios. So as you can see here on my screen, we'll be working with organization entity type, and this works for any entity types, right? So I have 3 automatic match rule here. The first one is basically matching on exact name and identifier. The second one is basically exact or fuzzy doing business as name attribute and exact identifier. You can think of this like, exact name and exact business, doing business as name and identifier. What this means is you have to have identifier same for any record to merge automatically. And then you have to have one of this, either name or doing business as name as a match. The third automatic match rule, which I have here, is exact identifier. Just identifier is enough to kind of, match and merge. But I want to point out here that this is currently disabled, which means only these 2 rules are active right now. So 2 records or any records will merge only if it meets one of these criteria or both of these criteria. Okay, with that, let's go and set up our data. I'm just going to, I have this sample record prepared. And I just want to point out here before we get into the demo, is this is the organization entity type. As you can see, this is the configuration for organization. I don't have unmerge enabled yet. So this is basically without any unmerge feature enabled. So I want to show first what is that. 3 records. Okay, so what I have here is Mike Car Wash with the doing business name as Super Car Wash. I have the identifier, which ends with 11. I have another record, which is exactly same, which is right here. And I've kept the identifier slightly different so that we can see them as 2 different records first before we merge them. Yeah. So let's head back here. Let me see. All right, so this is ending with 11 and the other one is ending with 12. All right, so I have 3 records, and the third record, I'll explain why I have this in a minute. So this is completely different. As you can see, the name is different, but their identifier is kind of matching with the first one. wanted to show that, just using the identifier, the records are not matching because the rule is disabled, the third rule that I talked about. So let's open this record and compare them side by side. Okay, I have this other record, which is matched using some suspect rule, which is why I see this as a potential match. So I'm going to change this to ending with 1, 2. That should make it automatically merge. I'm going to go there and change this to 2. All right, so after the changes, this should trigger the matching and automatic merging because they match using the automatic match rule. In this case, it matches on both the names. So let's give it a minute here. Okay, there you go. Okay, so now it is merged. Let's look at the source systems here. So there are 2 crosswalks or 2 records that came in, one ending with 10001 and the other one is 002. So as you can see, they have merged, and the history shows that they've merged using this rule 101, which is exact name and identifier. And there is also another rule there, 102, which is fuzzy doing business as name and identifier. Let's go back and change something here. Let's make this. Let's call it Guitar Center here and Music Store. All right. Now, this is a typical scenario that we come across, right? So underlying data change for whatever reason, right? Because the record was not correctly merged, or the source system basically got the new information about that underlying record, and the merged record or one of the crosswalk of that is changed now. So as you can see here, this one says Guitar Center, Music Store. Now, if somebody looks at this and they say, okay, this does not look right because this merge was done using Guitar Center and Mic. So there's a lot of confusion that, why it did match when the name was different, but that's not what happened here. The matching and merging was done correctly. It is after the fact that the underlying record was changed. So right now, data stewards are required to find such records, and sometimes they get this data from their source system, or they have to write a very complex query to find these records and go and go to the source system here, view, and manually unmerge, right? So what I want to do now is basically bring the or enable the unmerging. So let me make these records the way they were before so that we can go back to. All right, so let's confirm that the records are updated here. Okay, so they all are same. I'm going to enable the unmerge. Okay. So I'll start with a very basic configuration, which is simply saying enable the automated unmerge. And I'm going to post this. Okay, so the configuration in there, and I'm going to do the same change that I just did before, right? So this becomes Guitar Center and Music Store. Let me send that. Okay, so the updates are in there. I want to jump back here for a minute. So what it is doing now, it is checking for every single crosswalk that we had. Before I refresh, I want to show this, right? So it is taking every single crosswalk here, and it is reevaluating on the fly whenever there is a change to see if it still meets this criteria. Does it meet this criteria? If it does not meet one of this automatic merge, that's basically a good indication that that record is a candidate for unmerge, and we can automatically unmerge that, right? So that is what is happening here, right? So it will verify, or it will test both these rules on the fly and it will determine that the name does not match. Doing name business does not match. Identifier does match, but both these automatic match rules are not meeting the criteria anymore for this record. So let's refresh. Okay, so as you can see here, now my car wash and super car wash here is a separate entity, and you have this other entity that you can open, I think. Oh, sorry. You can go from here. Or let me just go to the search. Okay, so now you can see the Guitar Center vendor is taken out automatically. So now imagine this for the scale of like thousands and thousands of records, right? All of this is now handled by this automated unmerge functionality, without users doing anything, right? So this is a very powerful feature, as you can see here, right? So what I'll do next is I'm going to put them back to go to the next scenario. Okay, so so what you have seen here is because they did not meet the criteria, they were kind of taken out, and now we basically were able to kind of keep them separate, and you have the consistent clean data without you doing anything here, right? So that is basically the basic setting, like without any additional configuration than just enabling the automated unmerge, we were able to kind of separate those records. And this works in batch. So what I mean by that is, like, if you have like a lot of records which are already matched and merged and sitting in the tenant, and you want to basically find out how many of those how many of those records basically are eligible for automatic unmerge, then you can see it using this job here. You can run this automatic unmerge task, and there are two modes here. You can basically say, okay, tell me how many entities are eligible for this unmerge before you go ahead and unmerge. So that's a read-only mode. You can set it to true, and by default it is set to true. So you can, if you look at the report, if you agree with that, then you can basically enable it to false, and then it will go and automatically unmerge. I'll take a pause here and I'll talk about the controls, see if there are any questions, because we have covered sort of the basic of or foundational concept of the automated unmerge.
There's a lot of
one
questions.
Sorry?
Yeah, I have one question, sorry. Hi. So the question is that when you said that you can call this report, so where I can see that report, does it shows me, okay, these are the entities which are eligible for unmerge?
Yeah, at this point of time, it just gives you the count. It tells you the number of records, and it gives you some sample records so that you can go and verify those records to see if it really aligns with your requirement, right? In the next version of this release, we will basically enhance this functionality to give you the complete report. It will be a file similar to the export file that you get today, right? So it will have a complete list of URIs that you can basically download and verify on your end if you want to.
Just sorry on this one. So do we know when is that expected? Because see, as per our requirement, we do wanted to use this unmerge functionality, but not automatically, because we wanted to check first, okay, whether they, so
that is basically planned for the next release, 2024.2. That's when we are planning to release that functionality, where it will give you the list of all the URIs that are eligible for this. Okay.
Great. And you know what? Let's get through two more questions, and then we'll kind of
sure.
What event is published on auto unmerge?
So auto unmerge is basically just the process of detection and performing the actual unmerge at the entity level. So the events that we are publishing is not a different or the new event, because the detection part is just basically it's an operation to find the records. If you go and unmerge something in Reltio UI or using API, you get entity split event. So it's the same event that you will get for every single entity, which goes through the automated unmerge. So the only difference here is Reltio platform is doing that automated unmerge based on your configuration on your behalf, instead of users manually doing it. So there is no change, but it will tell you that it's a actually, let me jump back into this one, the profile, and you can see here it says that automatic unmerge process is the one who did this unmerge. So that is what you would have as a history record, that that it was automated unmerge that did the unmerge and not the user or through API. Yeah.
Got it. On organization merge, we have an example when service agents created 7 records for contractors. So where the service was delivered for it, it wasn't address of the contractor, it was the address of the customers. Any thoughts around that?
So I think we are talking about some sort of manual kind of contribution to the merge record and how we handle those. Let me know if that is what we are talking about here.
Georgie, I don't know if you want to speak up on that. No. Okay.
All right. We'll come back to that, and I want to go to talk about the controls that I spoke about earlier, right? Now, this is all great. This is all happening automatically. But what if I'm not ready to unmerge everything at this point of time? What if, there's one source system that I do not want automated unmerge to touch? What if there is a manual merge that happened and that was done only because the rule could not detect it? So how my automatic match rules is going to evaluate that? If I do that, then it's going to unmerge everything that my data stewards have done, right? How do I prevent that from happening, for automated merge to stay out of those things? The other scenarios is the rules that I've used for merging may not be the rules that I want to use for unmerging. One example is you have first name, middle name, last name, and address, right? And address keeps changing. Let's say there are 2 source systems contributing to that, right? The first name, middle name, last name does not change, only the address change. And now automated unmerge will look at that and say, okay, this is eligible for unmerge, and it will take out. But what if I do not want that to happen? What if I want just look at the name, and if it is same, keep them same for now, because address is coming and address is going to basically get updated and it's going to look the same. So I don't end up unmerging and merging back again. How do I control those things? So in this next section, I'm going to talk about some of those scenarios. So let's try this one more time, right, with a different set of data, or basically different scenario here. So I'm going to, okay, this was the updated record. I think I changed it back. So let's see. Okay, yeah, I did change all of those records. So now, as you see here, like unmerge happened and then the data changed and it came back together. And now it says, okay, now all the data is looking good. I'm not going to touch this record. So this is all great. So this is just to demonstrate that automated unmerge do not keep them separate forever. It resets the records so that if data does change, then it can come back through the regular match and merge process. So the next section I'm going to talk about here is the retain condition, is what we call them. So retain conditions are basically something that gives you control over what is that we are allowed to merge or unmerge, right? So we saw earlier that when I changed this record to Guitar Center, it automatically unmerged. So I'm going to do the same thing again. But this time, if you look at the data here, it belongs to source system Salesforce. So I'm going to put this retain condition to say, doesn't matter whether record is eligible for unmerge as per your rules and whatnot, do not touch the Salesforce record, right? So that's my first retain condition or the control that we can put in here, right? I can say if it is Salesforce, just keep that record. I do not want them to unmerge at this point of time, even if they meet the unmerge criteria. So I'm going to put this configuration. Oh, sorry, let me do this. All right, so that configuration is in. I'm going to apply the same change which I did earlier. And we saw when we did this, it automatically unmerged because the name doesn't match, the doing business as name doesn't match. So none of the automatic match rule meets the criteria. So I'm going to update this record. And I'm going to refresh just to confirm that the updates are in this system. Okay, so Guitar Center is here. Let's give it a minute, just like we waited when we applied these changes the last time. What I'm expecting here is unmerge should not get triggered here because we have said if this belongs to Salesforce crosswalk, if one of them belongs to Salesforce crosswalk, then do not unmerge them. So if I refresh again, you will see that these records will not be touched. So they remain same. So this is the first control that we thought will be very useful, which allows you to kind of, roll this out in a very controlled manner. You can basically say, I'm going to use automated unmerge for this tiny little data set, which I know I can control, right? Until I'm ready for the bigger data set. So this is the first control that allows you to do that, right? So let me go back and take that control out. Let me. I'm going to make that same again so that I can demonstrate the next scenario. All right, so all the values are same again. I'm going to put a second retain condition or second control, which is rule. So let me take out this control so that, it's not conflicting, or basically we can clearly demonstrate here with that just using the rules also, you can control what we can automatically unmerge. So what this rule does, base rule 103, let me go back there. And here you can see base rule 103 says, if it's an exact match on identifier and identifier type and ID, then do not unmerge. That's what it means. And you can see that this is set to none, which means I'm using this rule just for the unmerge condition, not for merging the records, right? So if I go back and put that configuration in, so I don't have my source retain condition, which means I'm allowed to unmerge Salesforce crosswalk records. The only retain condition I have is using the rule. So I'm going to demonstrate again that by changing this data, it should not unmerge the records, right? So let me confirm that this is still updated here. Okay, it's all same. So I need to go and update this record to say, sorry. And let's make this. All right. So when we saw for the first time, without this retain condition, we change the data so that it does not match. But now what we are saying is use this additional rule to determine on top of the automatic match rule. So by the way, automatic match rules are always considered, right? First, if it meets one of those automatic match rule, it stops. It doesn't even try to auto unmerge. This is the scenario where it has already evaluated those two rules, and you can see here, it does not match on the name, it does not match on the doing business as. But I'm saying, as long as it matches on identifier, do not just unmerge, right? That's the scenario we are testing or demonstrating here. So if I refresh my source view, you will see that updated record, Guitar Center is here, and it is still together with this My Car Wash, because we have told the system that do not unmerge if it meets the requirement of same identifier. So this is another control that we have introduced. Again, going back to what you want to use this feature for, it provides you this better control over. You can just put any rule that you want us to consider for determining whether record should be unmerged or not. So this allows you to kind of just go after any set of records that you want to keep out of this automated unmerge, right? So between these two retained conditions, like the source and the rule-based retained condition, you get all kind of flexibility and kind of configuration that you can put in to go after the data set that you want to unmerge. So those are the two conditions that we just demonstrated. Now what I'll do is I'll take those back. Let me make them same again and take the condition out. So I'm not going to have any retained condition here. Was that? And I'm going to change this data again. As always, I want to confirm that the records should be together right now. Okay, they are. So I'm going to go ahead and change this one more time. So I don't have any retained condition. We are back to where we started. No retained condition, just default automated unmerge. And with this, it should basically look at this record and say, okay, this does not meet the first criteria of matching on the name and the identifier, does not meet the second criteria of matching on doing business as name and identifier, and does not have any of the retained condition. So it's going to just unmerge those records. Okay, so as you can see, it without any retained conditions, the default behavior is kind of unmerging the record. So this is just working the way we expected it to work. So the last retained condition I want to talk about here is, okay, so this is all great, right? The source system, I have control over the match rule, all of that is great. What if I pick another random entity and just merge with this consolidated record? And the way I want to do this is I have this another entity that I created, which I said I'll get to this in explaining the scenario. Is this is completely different record. But for some reason, I know that this is the same record as the other record, right? It is just the name. And I can pull this record and I can see that they are actually at the same address. They have the same DUNS number. And I know this is the same record, right? It's just for whatever reason, their names are different and whatnot. So I decide to go, and before I do that, I want to show this consolidated record. Oh, sorry. So this is a consolidated record. Basically, it was put back after I changed the record, right, from Guitar Center to My Car Wash. So that's why this record came back together. So I want to go back to this potential match and manually find this record. It was not detected using any of the match rule, but I can still, as a data steward, can go and merge this manually. Now, The reason I might have merged this one is based on some additional information that is not visible or that is not accessible to any of the match rules, or they simply made that decision based on additional kind of research that they did outside of this. So as you can see, this was automatically merged, and then user came and manually merged this record. So here, now I'm going to change this back, and you will see that without any retain condition, this is the exact same configuration that I have. I've not changed the L3 configuration. I just changed the data. The only thing I've done different here is this time I have a manually merged record, which is tied to this automatically merged record. So if I refresh this one, you will see that it will not unmerge, right? Because by default, we have built this into the system that by default, manually merged records are not unmerged, because those are like, user have spent a lot of time in researching those records and kind of, doing the merging part of it. So we do not want to disrupt that. So which is why that is a default behavior. But what if you want to unmerge this record? You say, no, that was done in error. I have changed something. I've changed the match rules. Let me go back and basically reset the manually merged record. So let's bring that configuration into the unmerge. And I'm going to come back here again. Before that, I want to, again, make this same so that I can trigger that automated unmerge on this record. I'm going to put a retain condition. This time I'm going to change the retain condition, the default behavior of the system, to say, do not retain the manual merges, set them to false, right? And now go ahead and submit these changes. So it's in the system. I want to go back and confirm that the data is also aligning, at least the automatically unmerged merge records. All right, so they all, both of this says my car wash, and you have this orange auto center. Okay, I'm going to make another, this is probably going to be the last change. And I'm going to run the update. So as you saw earlier, because of the default kind of condition here, which says do not touch the manually merged record, but we wanted to kind of extend that functionality and give this control again to the to our customer to say, decide what you want. If you want us to basically unmerge the manually merged records as well, sure, we can do that, right? And that's what you can control using this flag here. We saw earlier that you didn't have to put this at all. You need this only if you want to override this functionality, right? Otherwise, you just need a retain condition for sources. You need a retain condition for the match rules. And if you don't need any of that, just set it to enable true. And that is all that is needed. All the complexity, all this awesome stuff is just kind of taken care of in the backend, right? So let's refresh this record one more time. All right, so as you can see, the record that was manually merged does not meet the criteria. And now it is, let's go back to the search here. And not only the guitar center, which did not match with the mic record, was unmerged automatically. Also the orange auto center, which does not meet any of the criteria, again, was also taken out. So you can see, like, it sort of gives you a way to reset your data and kind of take it back to the way it was loaded. We talked about in the beginning, like, the whole idea behind this functionality was to kind of, give that power to our customers to decide and to have basically flexibility to change their mind about match rules. or change your mind about your matching requirement. You should not have to stick with something that you built in the past and you're not allowed to change it because it will have a lot of impact and a lot of manual work. With this functionality, it gives you that control. Go ahead, change your mind about your match rule. Go ahead, change your data, bring more source system. This is the functionality that will allow you to kind of, do some of these things that will take months and months of tasks just to kind of, unwind all this data and start over if you want to. And it gives you control now on the data set. You don't have to do it on the entire tenant, on the entire data set. Pick the data set that you feel comfortable kind of resetting and things like that with those retain conditions that I talked about. So I want to save some time for question and answer and come back to some of the slides that I have where we are going to talk about what is currently not supported and that we are working on, we will support. And if time permits, we'll talk about some of the new things that we are also currently working on. All right, I'll take a pause there and see if there are questions.
There's a lot. so let's start on them. What happens in case? So Jay mentioned what happens in case the business name actually changed and the name change is a real change. So ideally, one would like to keep the merged record as it is so that the latest name wins in OV.
All right, so these controls are again, let me bring this up and show that actually. All right. So this rules that we were setting up, right? It basically has this setting of OV value or non-OV value. Based on that rule, we determine whether it meets the criteria or not. If you want to evaluate based on, let's say, guitar center changes, but the OV value is still the same, right? That was the question. If this was a merged record, and if there is a OV value which says, a non-OV value which says my car wash, does it still unmerge? It won't. If you basically set the match rule in such a way that, here I will show you. You can see this flag here, which says match by operational value. I have set it up the way I think you're asking. What I'm saying is, if the merged record has at least one value, which is my car wash, doesn't matter what other value says, do not unmerge. So that is the control that you have in the rules as well.
Great. And we're not going to get to all the questions today. I'll certainly post those on your behalf for Suchin to answer later. I'll try to do that today or tomorrow, and then you'll be notified once there's an answer. But let's get through some of them. Seems like you still want a steward to evaluate context before an unmerge happens. You need intelligent review of the change, like a guitar center to make Mike's car wash doesn't make sense, but Big M's car wash matching Mike's car wash could make sense. They may just have changed the name.
That is correct. So again, we do not want data steward to review these changes, right? This is built into the rule. The idea here is this is a brand new functionality and you want to control or you want to understand the behavior before you enable this functionality, which is why we highly encourage to basically use the report mode first, check out some of the criteria, some of the sample records, see if they are kind of, bringing up the right candidate for unmerge. And like I said, this is completely rule driven or rule based driven, which is something that you control. If you think that just name alone does not make sense because the name could have changed for a valid reason, and that's what the scenario that I demonstrated. I did not want system to automatically unmerge only because name or doing business as name has changed. Identifier was still same. So you can build a rule that you want to basically put in there, which will say, just don't look at the automatic unmerge or automatic merge rule. Look at this rule. And if as long as this rule is met, do not unmerge. So it will keep the records together, even if the automatic merge rules are not met. So you do have that control, right? So it's completely up to you how you want to basically define what the automatic unmerge criteria is.
Great. And we'll ask 3 more questions, but I want to make sure you get through your content. So can I have this as potential unmerge and notify my DS?
Very awesome question. Right now, we don't have that, but we are thinking about it. Like, just like the automatic unmerge functionality, like there is no rule type for automatic unmerge. It's a L3 configuration which enables the unmerge in the automatic action mode, meaning it will automatically go and do something, which is unmerge in this case. We are thinking of basically giving this as a potential unmerge kind of capability, which will sort of ties into the reporting mode in a way, right? Potential unmerge feature will look like basically flagging of those records on the UI so that you can navigate to them directly from the UI. And it will point out that out of 13 crosswalks that you have, these are the 2 crosswalks that will get unmerged if you enable this feature or if you accept this change, right? So that's like a potential unmerge functionality. So it won't basically be it will look like this. It will probably look something like here, right? So if you're looking at this view, it will, let me go here. And it will look, let me see. It should be same, I think. So it will have like multiple crosswalk, and we were thinking like, probably some sort of indicator that, okay, this is going to get unmerged, this is going to get unmerged, and this will by itself, right? Because of the automated unmerge functionality, which is in a potential mode. So that's the kind of idea that we were thinking about for potential unmerge. But yeah, we don't have that right now, but it's on our roadmap.
Great. And I was looking through this questions, and one of the most popular questions, thanks for the pluses and checks and whatever. So from Sandro, I wanted to echo some of the other comments in the having the unmerged queue that can be reviewed by data stewards in the UI is the best way to handle this. I would not assume that there should be excessive auto unmerge activity, but I guess it depends on the source systems. I much prefer having the option of data stewards to review and execute.
Absolutely.
It wasn't really a question, it was just more of a statement.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that, right? I mean, I started by saying when we released this functionality, it was unmerge everything that is eligible for unmerge, right? And again, we made this configurable, meaning you are not required to use this functionality. You can test this functionality before you use it. The next step in that process was, okay, now that they can choose when to auto unmerge, I cannot enable it because it's going to unmerge everything in my tenant. I don't want that. So we took one step further and we said, okay, how about retain condition? Do not auto unmerge the manually merge. So that was the first step in that. Then we added another retain condition, which is using the source system, added another one, which was using the rules. And this is the next step that we are talking about here, which is give the queue, do not do anything, retain condition or no retain condition. Let me basically take control of it and provide some sort of bulk unmerge capability where I don't have to click like 1,000 times to unmerge, which will be same as what we are doing today. The only improvement in that process will be detection, right? So we want to bring detection and the action part, like, to accelerate this whole process. So detection will let you know that these are the records that are eligible for unmerge. You can review them. You can take the action individually, or you can say, I agree with this detection. I agree with all the records that are flagged. Unmerge this for me. And data steward has a control, right? So that's where we are going next.
Right. And here's a comment from Vivian and ask, can we have an unmerged queue just like we do have a match, just like a match queue? I don't know if that's in the
Yes. Yeah. It goes to the same point. Unmerged queue will basically look like it does the detection part and stops there. It does not do anything. It will just basically say, these are the things that are eligible for unmerge based on the rules that you have put in. Review them and decide whether you want to do. And that's the biggest part here, right? I mean, the the powerful concept here of this feature is the detection part. These are the very difficult records to find. What is that I have merged incorrectly, or rules have changed, or their data has changed, and they are still in the consolidated state, which they should not be. That's the difficult part here. The unmerge part is a action where you decide, yeah, I agree with this, go ahead and unmerge.
Yeah.
So yeah, detection part is going to be like super important, and we are going to provide that queue in future.
Yeah, we have like 20 more questions, but if you can go into your next thing,
Yeah,
and then if we
right.
have any more time, we'll answer those. But I promise to push these out on the Reltio community, as I mentioned in the comments. And then and Suchin's very good at answering them, so we'll make sure that
Yeah.
happens. Keep going.
Yeah. All right. So I'll just take another 5 minutes to quickly run through this one, because I want to make sure that I have not missed anything that I wanted to cover in this session. So this one talks about, some of the highlights of this one, the data steward productivity, right? That's what we want to help with. We already looked at this, and I also covered this part, how it is modified, what can be done, what is not possible, and how difficult it is. Really, that's the part we wanted to. We didn't want to introduce something again which take another 10 people to work for weeks and weeks to make this happen. It's a simple configuration that you can control in a very flexible way, right? A lot of different things. So we talked about this, what we have improved. We started with 23.3, unmerge everything that does not meet the automatic merge rule. And now we have introduced a lot of controls with the, manually merged records are not unmerged by default, those kind of things. Talked about this, we looked at this, and we had a demo. Okay, so this is the one which I want to repeat over and over again, right? So this is an optional feature, right? And we want you to basically test this. We want you to basically enable this for the data set that you feel comfortable with, right? And we will improve this functionality, because this is not going anywhere. This functionality we are going to kind of double down on. We know this is very helpful in keeping the data accurate. So go slower if you have to, but make sure that everything that you feel comfortable unmerge that using those retained conditions, right? And if there are some issues, something that we can improve, always reach out to us. We'll be happy to kind of consider them and build them. One thing I want to point out here, which is not supported right now as of today, is merge on the fly. So merge on the fly concept is you have a crosswalk and you send another crosswalk, not through matching, but you're saying use this existing crosswalk to attach this additional information to it using a different crosswalk. So basically 2 crosswalks coming together, not as a result of matching, but as a result of same key being used. So that is sort of manual merge in a way, but not data steward doing it, source system doing it, right? Source system saying, there's a John Smith record, I just want to attach address information to it. I don't do matching, just use this key that I've already shared with Reltio, but attach address to it. So that is merge on the fly. Those records are by default today are unmerged because they don't meet the matching criteria. But we realize that is also falls under the manual merge category. And this is being worked on right now. And we'll release this functionality very soon, which is again, default. It will not unmerge those records by default. And you get to basically control those as well. So those are the things that I wanted to kind of cover in this session. And there's a lot of feedback that we have received. There's plenty of, and some of the things that we have repeated on this call, which is about having the queue. We absolutely kind of love that feedback, and we are working on this. It may not be available right away on the UI, but what we are trying to do here is use that bulk unmerge functionality, right? Give you something that you can basically use right now, which is a list of entity IDs. That's a good start, right? And then bring that functionality in the UI as quickly as we can. So we are currently working on this reporting more, is what that we call it. Right now it is available. You can run it, you can get the count, you can get the sample records, but it does not give you the complete list, which is what we are going after next. And this will be available probably by 2024.2 or before that. So that basically lines up with the potential unmerge queue that we talked about, and soon UI right after that. So share your comments, feedback, how we can make this better, what more controls we can bring into this one. We are kind of looking forward to those feedback so that we can make this even better. Yeah.
Suchin, great.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying if there are still time and people have questions, feel free to ask those questions.
We have literally 20 plus questions, but what I'll do is, again, post those to the community, but don't really have a lot of time left. So please give us your feedback after this. Whenever you leave, you'll get a pop-up from Zoom that, asks for feedback, 3 questions. All feedback is good, and even push some of those thoughts that you had here today about the unmerge, auto unmerge. Really exciting stuff here, I think. Still, there's some things that we're gonna continue to work on, so that's pretty exciting too. But all right, so thank you everyone for your questions. Thank you for attending. There's probably like your record number of people that came to this show. So anything that you do to match and things is always popular, obviously for good reason, since it's core what we do. So that's it for today. Please come to next week. We have shows coming on. We've got some really exciting things that Suchin wants to present around what we call Fern. Stay tuned. That will be April. It's not on the list yet, but it will be. But we'll see you back in April, Suchin, and we'll see you on the community as well, answering all these questions that people are asking. And
sure.
But thank you everyone for coming. See you soon. Until next time.